Simon & Schuster Audio presents A Noob's Diary of an 8-Bit Warrior. Welcome to the End by Cube Kid. Performed by Michael Gallagher. Monday. After our epic adventure in the desert, we needed a whole week to recover. So much had happened in just a few days. We'd lost Mobslayer again. Maggie had crafted an Eye of Ender so we could open a portal and finally get to the end. And that's the main goal of my quest. We ended up finding this portal in a fort under the sand in the middle of the desert. And when we got there, Maggie suddenly remembered that it was going to take not 1, but 12 Eyes of Ender to open it. So, while Blurp, who almost died falling into the lava, and Maggie went to get the missing eyes from a villager priest, I stood guard at the portal. And that's when Maggie's enemy, Alberic, and his apprentice, Bagel, showed up, and they chased me. They even kidnapped Mobslayer. Luckily, Mobslayer and I managed to get away. Meanwhile, Alberic and Bagel thought they were still after me, but they actually ended up tracking down a really bad guy called Herobrine, and he blew up the entire fort. Boom! Bagel, Mobslayer, and I managed to get out of the fort just before it blew. Then we found Maggie and Blurp. They'd gotten lost, obviously, and hadn't made it that far, and Bagel begged Maggie to return to the fort to save Alberic. But it turns out he was doing just fine on his own. Well, except that he got turned into a zombie. Maggie took on Alberic in a heroic battle. At the end of it, Alberic finally remembered who he was, even though he was still a zombie. Then Alberic and Bagel admitted that they'd been following us, and they had bought the last Eyes of Ender from the villager priest. So we actually had everything we needed to open the portal, but we were all so tired, especially Alberic, who'd been seriously damaged. We all decided to take a break before heading to battle in the end. So we headed back to Maggie's to get some rest, build up our strength, and prepare for the rest of our journey. Because it was far from over. We finally had everything we needed to open the portal and to go to the end. I knew when I'd go back to the village after all this, no one would ever treat me like a basic villager or a noob ever again. Stump and Max would look at me with stars in their eyes because they'd be blown away by my skills. Well, not quite yet. First, I had to finish sharpening all our diamond swords. Schling! I was busy sharpening our swords. Blurp was taking care.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?